Hi guys, welcome back. So the dust has settled on round one, and I'm joined once again by Tim from Egg Chasers. Tim, how are you doing?
Very well, Rich. Thanks for having me again.
Not a problem. Now the first game was Wales versus Ireland, but you were there at the England-Scotland game working. I was there just for pleasure, so we'll probably start there. And just saying, the first half of this is going to be on my channel where we do a little review. Second half, go over to Egg Chasers for a preview of round two. But yeah, you were there on the commentary gantry at that England game. Now all the emotion has settled. What's your overarching views on that game, Tim?
The one thing I want to stress when I think about this game is I'm a proud Englishman. I really wanted England to do well. My overriding feeling when I come away from that game is just fair play, Scotland. I quite like that they won in the way that they won. They won by rolling the dice. And at 20 points to 12 up, was it? England were. They then made some conservative selection choices, changes, and tactics, whereas Scotland just said, "We're going to have a crack." And my overriding feeling is, I really like that won on the day.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard to rewatch later on, but I've been rewatching the highlights quite a lot now, and that Duan van der Merwe try is one of the great Six Nations try. Now I'm over the disappointment. Just the way he beat so many defenders in so many different ways. I think was the second to last one, Van Portfleet, when he stepped him as well. Unbelievable. I mean,
that bit was unreal skill, and a lot of people have thrown the focus on the non-attempted tackle or a missed tackle here and there. But that you just mentioned Van Portfleet, and you were a winger, Rich, so you'll have recognised and appreciate the skill, the way he steps, and as he's going past Van Portfleet, changes hands, fends,
yeah,
and finishes. Just exceptional skill.
you
That
had
guy was
everything, didn't you?
unplayable.
You had the pace, the power, the sidestep, the quick foot, the ball transfer, and the handoff. I mean, it doesn't get any better. So, what a way to win it. Were there any other things that maybe you hadn't said at the time that you're thinking now?
Yeah, so my initial, I did like an instant reaction video where I was relatively upbeat on England, and then I sort of let it sit for a bit and did another video, and I felt a little bit more like, actually we really let that one go, and we shouldn't happen. And now even more time has passed. I think that's kind of where I'm at, is that this is like England are like a giant tanker in the sea turning round. A speedboat, you could just flip it around 180 and go in a different direction. It's going to take time, and I actually think Steve Borthwick's going about it the right way, trying to just slowly turn the ship around. But I think it's going to be frustrating for England fans for a little while yet, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's going to be enough time to be able to turn the ship and get some ahead of steam up before the World Cup.
Well, the thing is, I think to turn a ship around, first of all, you've got to know what your crew is. And I think it could take quite a while to work out actually who our best players are. And there's plenty of, decent comments out there saying maybe there is just a talent shortage in some areas. I mean, inside centre is a disaster in England, and maybe tight head props a bit low, and there's some areas that are really sparse. But go on then, let's go inside centre, because I saw you did a video on the other day. What's your conclusion? What do England need to do there, or is there nothing they can do?
Well, there is an element where I completely understand why Owen Farrell was selected by Stuart Lancaster, Eddie Jones, and now Steve Borthwick, and also, for what it's worth, by Warren Gatland on a couple of occasions. I do understand that, because the context is England don't have inside centres. We have some, but really not many. And the one that I'd pinned my hopes on, and in our previous videos, I'd said I think Dan Kelly could be a game changer for England, because he could provide the role that will bring the best out of the people around him. And obviously he's now out of the whole Six Nations, so we're back to square one.
Absolute
killer. I would understand it. Total killer. I wouldn't be surprised if Steve Borthwick keeps it relatively the same. Henry Slade, I imagine, would come in. Personally, what I would do, and I keep talking about 2021 against South Africa in the autumn internationals, when Manu Tuilagi went off within 5 minutes, and England were forced into a situation where Henry Slade was 12 and Joe Marchant was 13. and they beat the world champions. I think I would prefer to have a 13 playing 12 than a 10 playing 12. And I would prefer to have Owen Farrell in the 10 shirt. That's my solution. What's yours, Rich?
I don't think there is a solution. Honestly, I don't think there is at the moment. I think I've gone for in my selection. I went Lawrence at 12, even though I think he's a slightly better 13, and then Slade maybe at 13. But I just think they need some sort of bite in that midfield that can beat a man, that can go over the gain line. And at the moment there isn't, and there's just nothing they can do. One other personnel, before we move on to Wales and Ireland, one other personnel thing, something that I really picked up and I made quite a big thing of, is I couldn't believe what was going on with Maro Itoje. The last 20 minutes, I was just watching Itoje and he was shot. You know when someone is shot and they've got nothing left in the tank? That's what it was. And they really made a big error because I think they'd put on Ezekwe, hadn't they, in the back row? And Itoje needed taken off so badly. And I got a feeling it was his reputation that kept him on potentially. I don't know. But do you have any inside take? Do you know why he fell off the cliff so badly?
Well, the really interesting stat from this game is, I think, generally speaking, international games, and you look back at the autumn, around about 30 minutes or just under average ball in play time. This was 41 minutes ball in play time, which is exceptionally high. And so I think that is what was the cause of that. And this is where I would put the two things together: the lack of a 12, an English qualified 12 that's of in proper international class, and the fact that English players aren't used to playing with so much ball in play time. This is where the rubber meets the road when it comes to the Premiership. I think it's also might be the reason for tight head prop. We're in a league where it's easy to bring in non-English players to fill holes when it gets a little tricky, and actually the games are quite stop-start in the Premiership. And I think that it was a big. The gap to international rugby on this occasion was massive, and off the back of big European games, Premiership games, like you say, I think that you're right. Maro Itoje was not the world-class Maro Itoje that we've come to know.
Yeah, something's wrong. I mean, I appreciate what you're saying, but some players like Chesham, Ludlam, even in that 80th minute, they were still full of running. So I don't know, something's going wrong. If anyone's got the inside track, let us know. Yeah. But I don't know.
Please do.
Absolutely. Right, let's move on. So Wales versus Ireland, and I'll jump in there straight away. Even though Ireland hung on a bit in the second half or defended a lot in the second half, that's still a huge away win. What was it, 10-34? Something like that? I mean, absolutely massive. So you could say that, sure, they didn't fire for the whole 80, but they'd had the job done. So would you say that was a really good performance for Ireland? Or actually, was it more that Wales were so catastrophic in that first half that made it look better than it was?
No, I think you've got to give credit. I wouldn't say it's a great performance from Ireland. I'd say it was a great first half from Ireland, and they were absolutely ruthless, and that's what was particularly good. The second half was 7 apiece, wasn't it? And Wales can tell themselves a nice story that, oh, you know, we were better, and it was actually just errors, and there's an element of truth in that, but it's just the pressure that Ireland pile on you, just territorially, the tactical kicking, everyone's in sync. You see when they run strike moves off of scrums and lineouts, it's just so well oiled. Even with talking to the England 12 position, even with Stuart McCloskey coming in the midfield again, and that's what impressed me so much is just how they've got a hive mind with Ireland at the minute. It doesn't matter who comes in and who plays; they're all on the same page, and it's like a boa constrictor just slowly squeezing the life out of teams. They just apply so much pressure. And so I thought it was a dominant first half performance. I will say that Wales did, like the Dan Bigger pass and James Lowe scoring, Wales were in really good positions and didn't capitalise. And I think there was one try where it could have been like a try the other way had the pass gone to hand. I think it was that James Lowe one.
Yeah.
And that's a 14-point swing, and suddenly the complexion of the game looks totally different.
Yeah, they were definitely stuttering at times, weren't they? When they weren't quite sure where everyone had to be, that kind of new system errors. The one thing I'd say for Ireland that was impressive is when they got to the line, they didn't just batter away at the line. They had a plan. Even though it was direct, like they had a slight decoy, slight footwork. They got their latch in place quickly. A lot of this stuff is practice. It's not just let's get to the line and just bash until we're over, even though it kind of half looked like that at first glance.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. I think the other thing that really impressed me about Ireland, and you can sort of compare and contrast with Wales, where they had their real experienced older players who looked like they weren't playing to the level that we've seen them before. Whereas Ireland, their experienced players, some of them weren't at their absolute best, but it was some of those young guys that just are owning it. They're grabbing that team by the reins. Keenan and Dan Sheehan and Caelan Doris. Wow. Younger, relatively new on the international stage, over the last few years. And they're the ones that are really putting in massive performances. And that is what
does Keenan ever
Ireland.
make a mistake? Does Keenan ever make a mistake? Honestly, it's ridiculous. You look at him and you think, surely he's not that great a player, but he's just almost perfect sometimes. It must be so frustrating for the opposition. And Doris and Van der Fleer just are on different levels, aren't they, to be honest?
Yeah.
You could say, if you were to put a British and Irish Lions pack out now, would it literally all be Ireland? Don't know. It's right. You don't have to answer that one.
No, I don't have to answer that one. But I just while you reminded me, Caelan Doris was brilliant. But I just one person I forgot to mention, and I'll be really annoyed if I don't. Matt Fagerson was massive for Scotland. What a ridiculous number! Like 27 tackles was it he put in? He had a phenomenal game. So anyway, on the number 8 front, I thought I'd just quickly mention him. But Ireland were something else.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. So we had the Italy-France game, and wow, that's possibly the best game of the round, actually. Can you believe it? Well, I can believe it, because Italy, when they get in their stride, goodness me, they look like a coach. Someone's gone and got a coaching manual and scribbled all over it and stuck them on the field, because some of their play is so intricate. It's phenomenal. It kind of has to be perfect almost for it to work, but it does work quite a lot.
Absolutely. I'm interested in what you think about France just leaving the breakdown, because that's one element I think that we can see from round one, the way that the breakdown's being officiated. And in France's case, it was quite strange with players like Julian Marchand, so amazing at the breakdown. It was odd to see France almost stand off and let Italy have the ball, which enabled them to do exactly what you're saying. And obviously Sean Edwards said after the game that he's never had a team be penalised that much, and he didn't understand what was going on. So I don't know whether there's an adjustment to some new interpretation at the breakdown, whether it was just Matthew Carley or whether it's France approaching games in a different way. But that's the element from the favourites for the competition and favourites for the World Cup that I was thinking, what's going on here? I don't really understand what they're doing or what they're not doing.
Oh, the penalty count was crazy, wasn't it? Absolutely nuts. I mean, I'll avoid that one a little bit because it's a bit too. I don't really know what was who was at fault there. But
no, it's one to watch.
Yeah, I mean, but actually, even though they didn't contest the breakdown, France fanned out, and their defense was actually really solid. I mean, Italy were going phase after phase after phase, and France were fairly comfortable with it, to be honest. So I think that's a big plus for them, is that even though they had a pretty bad game, to be honest, it wasn't a good game for France at all, but Italy couldn't get through enough.
And do you know what I saw in this game for the rest of the world, looking ahead to the World Cup? And it sort of links to what you were talking about with England and Maro Itoje, is you saw how this France team are very beatable when you make their big men move. When you make their big men have to get up off the deck phase after phase after phase, and when you move them around the park and you're brave with the way you play, suddenly those massive mutants that France have in their pack,
God, they're huge,
look a little bit more vulnerable.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you the contradiction. Tell me what you think about this, Tim. Is France love to offload. It's in their DNA. They love to do it. But honestly, they might scare you more if they literally stuck it up the jumper and mauled it and smashed up the middle and then just put a couple of big boys. Like when they scored that try, was it Jalabert, was it? Was Jalabert? Yeah.
Jalabert, yeah.
There you go. They literally mauled it, all of them in there in the maul, crashed it up with Fiku, and then Taui Fifanua came round the corner and just literally offloaded easily a try. That was it. And if they do that for 80, you think, oh my God, can anyone stop that?
Yeah, that is terrifying, and that is what France do have. What they didn't show it as they have done before, but what France have and what I guess World Cup winning teams have. We like South Africa in the last World Cup final. They had the ability to absolutely batter you, and then when it's on, go. And France had just enough in their locker to squeeze out that one. Which, I mean, what a story that would have been had Italy been able to do it. And there was a little missed kick here and an opportunity there, and it would have been one of the most amazing moments. I hope that Italy can back it up, even though obviously they're playing England.
I think they missed Garbisi there, didn't they? I think there was quite a few kicks there at goal and to touch where Alan just showed he's not quite Garbisi.
They've got some really good players, though. I love the loose head prop. Was it Fischetti or and Lamaro, the skipper, obviously is great. But and Brex. Again, thinking about England's issues without some. Brex is what a great centre. I'd love to have him if he was English. I'd love to have Joe Hawkins of Wales if he was English. I'd love to have Stuart McCloskey of Ireland if he's English. Yeah, I'd take any of them.
Take all of them.
Take any of them.
Absolutely. So, I mean, just summarising what we saw in round one then, Tim, is there anyone there that can threaten Ireland or France? Did Scotland show enough? Always thinking.
I think home advantage is absolutely massive. Which is why
hang on, is it though? Is all the away sides won?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Why I think it's right for you to point out what a good win it was for Ireland. Why that was a great win for Scotland again, and why France may have just squeaked through against Italy. It is massive, which is why I think the advantage now for the tournament is Ireland's purely because they're at home. We'll get into the matchups in the second part of the video. But
so is that a no?
No, it's a no. It's a no. Okay. It's a no. I think I want it to be a yes. I was trying to will a yes, but the answer is no.
No, I think you're right. At the moment, it still looks like Ireland, France. So anyway, I think that's a good place to leave it. We're going to get into the preview of round two. So go over to Egg Chasers and check that out. Pop all the comments below from round one, and we'll catch you next time.